Hey there mga ads and Kuys! Welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year sa inyong lahat! For this first video, this 2022, ay manonood tayo ng interview ni Miss Toni Gonzaga kay Sir Gary Valenciano, one and only. Isa sa mga musical influences ko to si Sir Gary at sa mga friends ko alam nila to talaga. At sa mga followers ko dito, mga subscribers natin, siguro na narinig nyo na rin o napanood nyo na rin si Sir Gary sa mga contents ko. But yes, idolong-idolo natin si Sir Gary kasi high school pa lang tayo pag nanonood tayo ng ASAP. Isa na siya sa mga pinapanood natin, and the very first time na nakanood ako ng concert niya was in 2012 sa Music Museum for the Higher Ground concert. And then since that time, nanonood na ako ng concerts niya sa Araneta, yung Arise, and then yung Gary V Presents. From 3 different locations yun na nakanood ako sa Resorts World Manila, sa Soler, and sa Kia Theater. Yan. And sayang nga hindi natuloy yung concert niya noong 2020. I think yun yata yung last concert niya supposedly. Pero okay, yun nga, pandemic happened. But okay lang, at least safe tayo lahat. So ito, tara, panoorin natin tong Toni Talks ni Sir Gary. And alam ko, kasi nabanggit ko yung mga concert kanina, no? Nakilala ni Toni si Paul, si Direct Paul, sa concert ni Sir Gary. Yun, sa mga Tonilicious dyan. Hello sa inyo. So tara, mga As and Kuys, let's watch this interview.
Toong pangalan po ni Kuya Gary is Edgardo Jose Santiago Valenciano.
Yes.
Saan nakuha yung Gary V? Yung Gary?
That's a good question eh. Kasi my parents never really gave me a solid answer. Basta alam ko, yung isa sa parents ko, gusto nila parang Spanish ang pangalan. Kasi Valenciano, di ba? And it's not Valenciano, it's not Valenciano, it's Valenciano. In Puerto Rican, it's with a TH. And my mom was in love with an actor by the name of Gary Cooper.
Tapos alam niyo si Kuya Gary nung lumalaki siya, pilyo si Kuya Gary at saka medyo makulit siya nung bata siya.
I was something else that rhymed with bully. I was naughty. Very naughty. Mischievous. You know, I wouldn't drink in school, I wouldn't smoke in school, I wouldn't say bad words I wouldn't argue with the teachers and all, but yung mga ginagawa ko medyo daring.
Pero growing up, what was...
Ito mga revelations to hindi rin ko to alam. Kasi may Gary V up din naman before, tapos nagbasa-basa rin naman ako about Sir Gary. Hindi ko alam yung mga sinasabi niya na to.
your dream?
Wow, my dream was everything that I am not today. I wanted to be the typical doctor, architect. Those were the top 2.
When did you start singing?
When I was a kid, my mom already said that I was singing. Kasi kumakanta ako sa bahay pag may mga taong pumupunta. Okay, so maybe I was about 7 years old, and the first song that I ever sang in front of her was the song I Believe. I believe for every drop of rain that falls of Laura. Ganon. And she heard it. Now, there's nothing yet. But when I sang that song, my mom already said, you know, he's probably going to end up in entertainment. So yun, that's when I found out I could sing. Pero I never thought, never in my life did I think na aabot ako sa ganito. Being 38, 37 years in the industry.
Yung pagsayaw, Kuya Gary?
Okay.
Bata ka pa rin?
Yeah.
Magaling ka na sumayaw?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, hindi ko masasabi na dancer ako, but I could move. When I was in high school, as a senior, with the Kundirana of LaSalle Green Hills, Michael Jackson did the moonwalk. And I remember.
Michael Jackson, sa mga lods natin, si MJ, Long Live the King.
Every day, pumupunta ako sa studio kung saan kami nagre-rehearse, and I would be practicing the moonwalk all the time until one of my classmates saw it. And he says, "Oh, pare, gawin mo nga uli yun." So I did it again. Kulang pa. Hindi, pare, yun na yun, ginagawa mo. So from that time on, sa akin binibigay yung mga ibang mga dance.
Magagandang movement.
Pero simple lang yung mga galaw na ginagawa namin noon.
Kailan yung unang-una?
Kasi pag Michael Jackson of the Philippines, Gary Valenciano talaga yun
Ng beses kang kumanta sa TV?
I was in my senior year in high school. Tita Pilita Corrales and Jackie Lou Blanco. May television show sila called Pilita and Jackie. So inimbita yung Kundirana to perform. But then, after the performance, a few days after, lumapit si Tita Pilita. I think it was my sister, Diane, at sinabi niya na, you think your brother can come back to the show, but as a soloist? So I said, okay. But still, at that time, wala pa rin.
Hindi pa rin yun yung dream mo. Hindi mo pa naisip na ito yung magiging path ko. Singer-performer ako.
No. It was like, well, okay, sige, I'll perform. Kasi I liked it, but I never thought.
Pero kinakabahan kaya, Sir Gary? Mga ganyan. Kung ako yan, kinakabahan ako.
Thought that it would be my passion.
Kailan lumabas yun? Na ito na yung passion ko, this is what I want to do.
Dati kasi walang social media, di ba? So, it's all word of mouth. Uy, kilala mo ba si Gary Valenciano? Sino yun? Yung taga-Lasal. Kaibigan siya ng kaibigan ko, kaibigan ng ganyan. O sige, pwede ba natin imbitahin na kumanta sa UP, Lasal, Ateneo,
Campus tour.
Sensco, campus tour.
Yes.
Pero kaset ang dala ko, no?
Yes. Anong mga
Okay, alam ko yung cassette. Nabutan ko pa naman yung cassette.
songs ang kinakanta mo doon, Kuya Gary? Michael Jackson ba?
No, wala akong Michael Jackson. Kasi binibili ko lang yung -1 ko sa Unimart. Talagang may record player ako, tapos nilalagay ko sa cassette. Yun na yun. So I would sing songs of Basil Valdez. I would sing songs of Rick Segreto. I would do songs of James Ingram. And those were the songs I would do. So what happened was, this was the turning point. I came out in a school called ICA, Immaculate Conception. And in this school, hindi ako nilagay sa pinaka-start ng show or sa pinaka-dulo. So nandun ako. Okay? Gary, you're going to sing at this part because it's going to fit the whole program. Wala. Para sa aking program. Basta kalabas ako doon, kakanta ako. But this time, they were really saying, this is the concept of the show. Okay. I stood out there. Idilat ang mga mata, masdan mo ang mundo. Wala ka bang napapansin sa paligiran mo? At that point, walang sumisigaw. Pero meron mga nakikinig. And I was singing and I was saying, wait, I'm singing, I'm not entertaining anymore. I'm actually able to speak in the form of something harmonious, in the form of something melodious. And there I was, creating an impact that I never thought I could do. Kasi after the performance, iba na eh. Hindi na yung, it was more, wow! And that's what did it. So I remember talking to my sister and saying, Diane, I think this is where I want to go. To being a solo performer.
You wanna pursue this career?
Yeah.
Yun na yun.
Kasi may mga offers din na maging part ng band. So dapat ako, Randy Santiago, and Juan Miguel Salvador, we were supposed to make up a band. But
I know, siyempre kilala mo natin si Randy, tsaka si Juan Miguel. Part siya nung nakausap namin to nung nasa Higher Ground concert kami. Tatay ni Janela Salvador, si Juan Miguel Salvador.
That event in ICA changed my whole perspective.
And then you were launched on TV. Paano yung launching ni Gary?
What I remember clearly was the one of Martin and Pops. I think it was Penthouse Live. And it was so memorable, Toni, because the first time I stepped out there, meron na akong kanta na mabilis. Kanta ni Al Jarreau. I go to GMA7 and Martin Rivera tumingin sa akin, Gary, okay, Gary, Pops, this guy's gonna knock you off your feet, ganyan. We're gonna come back with him in a while, and commercial. Habang commercial, nakatayo ako ng ganon, bumaba yung producer ng show, si Ronnie Henares. Sabi niya sa akin, Gary, right? I said, yeah. You might want to go upstairs because there seems to be a problem with your open reel.
Oh, shocks.
So I went upstairs. Ang nangyari, dalawang kanta ang lumabas. Bali yung isang side lang kasi there's a whole process to it. Hindi nabura ng husto yung dating naka-record dun sa tape.
So magulo yung...
Nakaka-relate ako lang. Kasi ginagawa ko din dati yun, nag-record sa tape. Tapos yung pag pinakinggan mo, may iwan pa yung iba. Memories.
Magulo. Dalawang kanta na sabay.
Hindi pwede i-play.
Hindi talaga. So, imagine I was already standing on stage. Naka-standby na ako.
Sure.
Biglang, so I'm sorry, but you can't perform tonight. You'll have to come back next week. I said, what? Okay, sige.
Talaga?
So, hiyang-hiya ako kasi at that time, everybody had a crush on Pops Fernandez, including me. So I was there on stage and I saw her. I said, I'm gonna perform this song. And there she is. Tapos, I exited and I never came back. But Talagang naniniwala talaga ako that God works in mysterious ways.
Mm-mm.
The next week, bago ako bumalik, si Juan Miguel, my good friend, called me and said, Gary, I want you to hear something. May pinarinig sa akin yung original -1 ng kanta ni Al Jarreau na gusto kong kantahin. I said, how did you get this? At that time, may gadget called Vocal Eliminator where you could take out the voice. So he gave me
May mga ganun na pala noon.
the -1. So now, I went with, the open reel na tama ang pagka-record. Then I performed. And, Toni, it was for me the first time na talagang nailabas ko yung mga hindi ko mailabas in other stages. Sa umpisa pa lang ng kanta, meron ng oh yeah! Something was saying studio. I mean, it just felt like it was me. And I was in a show where na-appreciate yung ginawa ko. So Martin was there, Pops was there, and I got to sing the song.
And after that, the rest was history, di ba?
The rest was
Nagtuloy-tuloy
history.
na. So 17 yung parang first big launch.
So meaning, mas nauna sila Sir Martin kay Sir Gary sa industry, ano? Kasi may TV show na rin sila eh.
Tapos 18, nagsunod-sunod na yung word of mouth na you have to hear Gary Valenciano. May bagong young na guy, na singer na sobrang galing.
Yeah.
But at 19 years old, something happened that really changed your life.
Yeah.
You became a father.
I became what people called and what the media called an unwed father. I was quite lost as a young boy,
Bata. Hindi na ako surprised ito. Alam ko na siya.
A young boy rushing to be a young man, being given all the responsibilities of being the entertainer I was becoming. And it was 2 weeks before my first major concert at the Araneta Coliseum called Live. A-Live. Gary Valenciano. Hindi pa uso yung Gary V.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Valenciano A-Live. And I will never forget how the meeting went with me and my management. Kasi may mga tabloids na eh. Yung unwed father, who will it be? Tapos may 3 mukha na blurred out. Yung my face, Raymond Lauchenko's face, and Martin Llewellyn's
Parang
face.
blind item.
Parang blind item. Who will it be? And I remember driving to Saint Scholastica for a performance with my cassettes. Tapos may mga kumakatok na newsboy na may daladalang
Oh my
tabloid.
God.
Parang, ikaw ba to? Ikaw ba to? And I was like that. Doon ko na-experience yung my first major hypoglycemic episode during that time because of all the stress that I was getting from the media. And all the media wanted to do was know the truth. So when we met with my management team, alala ko pa yun eh, nag-uusap sila, ako nakikinig lang ako sa mga sinasabi nila. And a couple of the plans were, number 1, maybe Angeli can go to Australia and have the child. Let me just name the child, Paulo. Maybe she can just have Paulo there na lang. Kasi may cousins naman siya dun eh. So that Gary's career is preserved. The other one was, look, just go to the States. Gary, your family's there. You can take Angeli with you and you can have the child there and then just come back. But somehow, Toni, in me, there was no peace eh. Kasi parang, that's my child. Why am I going to hide? Baka paglaki ng anak ko, tanungin ako, Dad, totoo ba na you wanted to hide me because it was a mistake and all and you didn't want to face it and all? And thank God na hindi nangyari yon because I told my team, my sister Diane, again, looked back at me and said, we're talking here, why don't we ask Gary what he should do? Kasi meron akong press conference. At alam namin lahat na yan ang tatanungin nila. Hindi nila tatanungin
Yung concert.
Tatanungin nila kung yung tungkol sa pagiging buntis, no? Ni Angeli. And they looked back at me and then they asked me, Gary, what do you think you should do? And I said, I think we should just tell the public the truth. And let's use the first major concert as a gauge. Kung walang tao, then I get Angeli and let's go to the States and whatever. Tapos na, my career's done. And then here comes the press con. And I'll never forget the late Ricky Lo. Is it true? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Aren't you afraid that your fans will leave you? Many of them will, And I was saying, yeah, well, we'll see what happens on April 13, Friday the 13th.
1984.
1984. So here comes the concert. Siyempre, they put it out in the news, no? It's Gary Valenciano. He's going to become ano, ganyan. And I'll never forget, after the prayer, my sister Gina comes into the room. She's crying. And I said, Gina, why are you crying? We're sold out. You know? And when I heard that, I was like, we're sold out. Okay. Alright, so syempre, I have to walk all the way up. At that time, di ba uso sa mga concerts, pag sinara na yung ilaw,
Sigawan na lahat.
eto wala. Meron din, pero hindi ganun ka, yung pag, uy! Kasi I think, Toni, na marami ang nanood sa akin na curious. Sino ba tong Gary Valenciano na to na pinag-uusapan na, magiging unwed father daw, na buntis daw yung girlfriend niya, ganun. Pero okay daw siya mag-perform. O, teka, panoorin natin. So that's why people went. And I went all the way to the top. And
that time wala namang kasing social media nga. No? Ang promotion siguro din sa TV or newspaper. And mostly, mga taga Manila, mga kanood sa Araneta and QC. Nearby. So word of mouth din. Ang galing lang kasi impactful na that time.
the first
di naman nagbago yung laki ng Araneta kasi same lang din naman yan sa ngayon.
song was Brand New Day. Can you feel a brand new day? And I remember when I heard the music, I am sorry my hair standing, but when I heard the music start, dun ko narinig. Then I came down and I was like, everybody look around, because there's a reason to rejoice, you see. And my opening number had two guests, Sharon Cuneta and Shasha Padilla. Talk about a brand new day. And from that time on, tuloy-tuloy na.
What was that?
Gara naman ng guest niya. Siyempre, Sharon, bigati na rin yun. Tapos Miss Shasha pa. Parang pati ako na-excite din. Habang rekwento ni Sir Gary. Kasi pag opening ng concert, di ba? Pag as an audience, talagang thrilling yun. Start yun Tapos narinig mo yung music. So, ganun din pala effect sa mga artist, no? Kasi sa amin, sa atin nanonood, ganun din Yung talagang, ito na, ganyan.
Feeling like holding Paolo for the very first time.
I will never forget that day because I had a concert. He was born sometime in the afternoon, and when I held him, I wanted to go to the media and say, alam ko. I know my career may be over, may be tapos na, lahat ng mga sinabi niyo maaari maging totoo. Pero meron ba kayong ganito? This is my son, Paolo. And then from there, I had to go na to the airport and leave. And when I got there to Iloilo or Cagayan de Oro, I told them, I know you've read all the news, but today my son was born. My son Juan Paulo Martin was born. To hold your son or a child for the very first time, it's beyond proud. Proud is an understatement. It's an overwhelming sense of joy na you have the worries of, naku, I hope I become a good father. Naku, I hope what's he's gonna, sana he makes the right decisions in life later on. But all of that is put aside when you actually feel the warmth of your son, of your child, or your daughter in your arms, and he's your firstborn.
Paano mo na-juggle yun? You were a father, a husband, a performer.
That's all by God's grace. Yung nangyari sa akin kasi was the total opposite of what the media said would happen to me. Media said, that's the end of your career. No, it actually catapulted. Kasi, imbis na I would come out being, wala na yung career ko, I came out and, come on, let's continue to have fun. Apparently, marami din ang nakaintindi sa sitwasyon namin. I mean, there was a time we were just sleeping on mat.
Ayun nga, sasabi na other words or words from other people cannot define, di ba? Or cannot predict what's within or what will happen to your life. Just go on. And si Sir Gary, in-embrace niya kasi.
Mats on the floor. Yung kurtina namin ay mga tabloid. yung mga old newspapers. Yeah, that's how we started. And that's, I think, what grounded me, what made me realize na, look, you have a lovely wife, you're blessed with a lovely wife, you have a beautiful son. That's actually enough already. So whatever else comes your way, just take it as part of the package. And I'm speaking like this, as you notice, I'm not saying anything about God kasi hindi ko pa siya kilala in the way that I know Him now.
Kailan mo na-meet si God? Kailan yung...
The turning point?
Yeah, the turning point naman.
Was in 1985. This was at the time when a song called Di Na Natuto was at its peak. Now, Di Na Natuto is a song written by Danny Javier. Ito yung naging first Tagalog single ko. And for some reason, Toni, di ba? I have a beautiful boy, a beautiful wife, a good career, but there was something missing here. I would perform, and when I would come home, like, okay, but ano kaya kung bumalik ako dun sa venue na yon next week? Magiging sold out din kaya yung lugar na yon? Or what's my next song going to be like? Kasing lakas ba ng Di Na Natuto? O baka, ano kaya? There was a lot of insecurity.
And worry.
And one of my biggest insecurities is one of my best friends, Martin Rivera. Every time he would come up with a new song, I'm like, ang kanta ng kanta. Grabe naman. But, okay, so I would come and I'd try to create music. Ikaw ang lahat sa akin. And I'm like the voice. I can't sound like that. And then he would come up with Be My Lady, all of these songs that were just so beautiful. And rightfully so, I mean, what an entertainer he was, and he could make people laugh. And together with everything else, I realized that I wasn't a happy man. I was not being authentic to my audience. Na pagkatapos ng show, sumisigaw sila, yeah, good. Pagpasok ng kotse, pauwi sa bahay, bakit ba? Why am I feeling that there's something missing? So one day, November 12 of 1985, I was invited to go to my sister-in-law's house in Makati. And I knew na ang pag-uusapan namin ay si Lord. But people have to understand kung bakit ako medyo umiwas sa mga topics about Lord. One, I was an altar boy when I was young. Okay, I had a beautiful family that broke apart because of financial problems. My parents separated, and it was a perfect scenario, as in perfect way of growing up. Tapos biglang, so I was saying, wait, tapos yung diabetes.
At 14 yan,
At 14.
sabay-sabay.
But when I was about 11 or 10 years old, with my tito beside me, nasa beach kami. And I think the beach was Matabungkay kasi yan ang uso dati. And I remember seeing his daughter running in the beach. And while she was running, may nursemaid sa likod na may hawak na syringe. So tinanong ko yung tito ko, Tito, why is she running away and why is she screaming? Umiiyak na, I don't like. Tapos sabi niya, Gary, kasi my daughter has a condition known as diabetes. And every day she has to take an injection. And so the nursemaid is running after her with the injection because she has to take it now. I told him, what? Tito, that's one thing I never want to have.
11 ka nun.
Innocently, I said it. And at the age of 14, my sugar level hit 722 when it's only supposed to be between 80 and 120. Diabetic. Then I come home from the United States and I'm leading a retreat. Of course, at that point, retreat. Pag sinabi mong retreat kasi, that's makajos, that's knowing each other, self-realization, activities, but they're all God-centered. And during that retreat, on the last day, o yung sa umaga ng
Hey guys, real quick, let me give you a tip on Udemy. It's an amazing place where you can learn just about anything from the comfort of your own.
Skip ko muna.
last day, my dad comes to school and to tell me that, Gary, while you were here, the house burned last night. I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thanks. Bye. And
God.
And I had, wala na. But then, in 1985, with all of these things happening, there was an emptiness. And Angeli wanted me to go to that dinner Because alam niya na ang pag-uusapan ay Lord. At alam niya na I forgot God.
Yes.
Wala nang prayer. Yung bayaw ko, kilala ko siya bilang isang tao na very rare siya mag-smile, maging friendly and all. That's just the image I had of him. But that night, he talked to me and he goes, "Hey, Gary, how are you?" And the first question was, "Hey, Gary, so I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you know who Jesus is?" So, syempre, tagalasal, di ba? So, yeah, of course I know who Jesus is. I mean, he's the Son of God and he's the Son of Mary and, he died and he rose 3 days. I know. His name was Vic. Yung bayaw ko si Vic. Vic, I know. That's good. Pero ang napansin ko kay Vic, yung aura, his entire being was different from the Vic I knew before. Until he asked that question. So Gary, if you died right now, where would you go? Don't answer na, alam ko. No, think about it. Because I did. I thought about it. And then I became serious with Vic. I said, Vic, look, I know where you're going with this conversation. But I'm not ready for that maybe next week, usap tayo. I'll tell my secretary to call you. Imagine me telling my bayaw. I'll tell my secretary. Di ba, mas okay kung, Vic, I'll just call you next week. And Vic responded with, it's okay. But what if on your way home, something happens to you and it's over? Where would you go? And slowly, Toni, I found myself getting more involved in what we were talking about. I wasn't condemned. I wasn't looked down on. Nobody told me, you're going to hell. Because, no, it was just a calm, genuine care from my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law in talking to me about Jesus. And that night, we said a very simple prayer. No lightning, no thunder, nothing was going on around me. But there were a lot of things going on in me. And that night, I accepted Jesus into my heart as my Lord and my Savior. And from that time on, slowly, nag-transform na yung mga kanta ko. Na I don't force myself to write songs like Take Me Out of the Dark or Search
Gaya
and
ng
Know.
dati.
Gaya ng dati was actually written for me. Lord, gamitin mo ako gaya ng dati. Eto, nandito ako uli. But I don't force myself to do that It's just the nature of my heart now to write music that can speak to people either now or next year or in years to come.
2018
2018
was a hard year.
Was almost a heartbreaking year for me,
Yes.
literally. April 22 or April 23 of 20.
Ito yun, April nga, 2018. Kasi, April din yung concert ni Sarah G. 2018 din. Kasi yung mga biggest, natin yan idol natin yan. Mga nagkaka-problem sila, sabi nga ng isang kaibigan, yung mga idol mo nangyayari sa kanila, ganyan.
2018,
Yeah, I mean, yung kay Sarah yung breakdown niya sa Vegas.
I was celebrating my anniversary and I was going to dance with Darren Espanto, Inigo Pascual, and Gab Valenciano. In the opening part pa lang ng kanta, may parang there was a pain na, andun ako, hey everyone, how's everybody doing? Welcome to ASAP. Okay, we're gonna celebrate here. Hataw tayong lahat. Hataw na. But there was something that was not right. It was scary because I knew there was something wrong. Was it a heart attack that I was going through? Or was it just muscular pain and all? And I had myself checked after. My blood pressure was mataas. Sa stress test pa lang. Wala yung doktor ko nasa Japan siya When I was in the stress test, tinatawagan na pala siya ng mga paramedics na umaasikaso sa akin to tell him in Japan, Doc, the readings don't look good, And so, after that stress test, medyo mahina ako sa stress test na yun. He called from Japan. And he goes, Bards, looks like we have a problem with your heart. I want to see you when I get back. And we'll conduct some tests. So, he came back and conducted the test. And that's when he saw it. I remember, nasa kama ako ng ganyan. And I looked like that. He goes, you see that? That's 95% blocked. It is very fortunate, Gary, that did not rupture while you were performing. I said, okay, but I cannot do a stent procedure. I have to open you up and do a bypass on you. But, sure, okay lang. Kasi medyo sedated ako. Bypass? Okay lang. And with the bypass, they don't cut you open. They kind of break you open kasi puro buto eh. Then they take the heart out. And then I think that they stop the heart. Then they cut me here sa leg to get another artery para makagawa ng bypass.
Grabe.
So when I found out that's what it was.
Major operation.
Major. Kaso it's done all the time. And I must say I had the best doctors with me, you know. So I went in and I'll never forget how I was on that, was it the wheelchair or the bed, and I saw my kids and they all hugged me one by one, and it was kind of moving for me. But at that point there was no anger. Okay, Lord, you know what's going on. You know what's happening here. Peace. There was peace. I found myself in the palms of His hands. And that, for me, is the safest place to be. Because safety is not in the absence of danger. It's being in the presence of the hands of the Almighty. So I was napapagaling na ako at lahat. And suddenly, I started to build up fluids on my left lung, which they say nangyayari sa 30% ng mga patients na who undergo a bypass. So I went to the doctor and the doctor said, you know what, let's have a CT scan just para malaman natin kung ano talagang nangyayari. They examined the whole upper part of my body. He said, yung nangyayari sa left side ko, okay lang daw yun kasi 30% nangyayari yun. But I'm more concerned with what's happening to the right side of your body. And I said, why? I mean, that's your kidney, Gary. I said, okay, and he goes, I'm a cardiologist, Gary, but there are too many diabetics that have come to me after a CT scan with their kidneys looking like yours. You have cancer in the kidney, Gary.
So yung narinig mo yung cancer.
Yeah, up to now, Angeli is looking for the right word to describe how I look. It's not scared. I think it was more shocked and parang yung awed na. But when the doctor says, you have it, it's different, Toni. Again, it's like I went like this, and behind me was his hand again. When I was being rolled in again to the same operating room.
For the kidney.
For the kidney. I think this was in May 6 of 2018. Eto, June 13. So it was like that.
Wala pa 1 month.
Walang break, di ba? So I went in, nilagay ako sa isang kwarto where they leave me and they prepare everything, and I'm just inside this curtained room. And I remember talking to him and I'm saying, Lord, I'm here again. And parang nabasa na niya lahat ng mga nangyayari sa loob ko. And if I can put a picture to it, it's like he sat on my bed, folded his hands and said, yeah, and I'm here again too. And that again gave me peace.
Did you ask why?
The whys came after. It's not why dahil sa bypass and the kidney, but it was more why do you work this way? Why must people go through this in order to learn who you are? And sometimes there's no answer. Toni, there's no, because it's like this. No, it's more just peace to know, I know why, and you don't have to know why, Gary. Just trust in me. But trust in me with all your heart. Don't lean on your understanding.
It's your
all
song.
your ways, correct? That's when it becomes so real. Diba?
Yeah.
That's why every time I do Take Me Out of the Dark, it's never a performance. I'm speaking based on experience. I'm singing based on truth that I want to share with others because it's meant to be true in other people's lives as well.
When was the last time you cried?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've cried to God. But there was a time I was in this room. I looked at my life and I looked at it from my own eyes. Like looking in the mirror and not liking what you see. That's when I wept here in this room. And I just came down here and I couldn't even talk. There's no, Lord, forgive me, Lord. No, it's more of, and you can't anymore say the words and you just weep. That happened 2019. There were also times when I wept before the Lord when I would know that, my children are open to talking about these things, no? Because they know it can help others. But Kiana suffers from depression and Gab also does. So sometimes they don't see it. But after they come from here and we talk and all, then I come down here and I think of what they're going through. They live alone. So, I can only imagine what that's like. And that really brings me to tears. But The enemy is alive, and he's meant to steal, to kill, and to destroy. To steal your dreams, to kill your visions, to all of these things he does 24/7. And he always does it here. This is where it all starts.
The playground.
This is his playground. This is our battlefield.
Paano na nangyari yung pray.com?
Okay, yung pray...
Kayo naman, mga ads and quiz, kailan kayo last na naiyak, ganyan? Or last time na, umiyak to God. Pwede nyo naman comment din. Pero on my end, just to share, New Year's Eve. Wala lang, looking back, the year 2021. Bagong celebration.
Pray.com kasi, isa pa yun. Sobrang thankful talaga ako because that happened during the pandemic. Kung saan, wala lang ABS-CBN. Wala lang live shows. So you're thinking, what am I gonna do now? But thank God for technology like what you see here that allows me to reach the world. Like what you're doing now. Then, one day, Angeli comes to me and says, Gary, thank God because the #1 Bible app in the world, the group called Pray.com, they want you to be a part of what they do. And I said, what do they want me to do? It's something like what you used to do in the house. What do you mean? The little Bible stories that you used to do at home, they want you to do something like that. Really? So it's a different me, It's still me, but it's me minus the singing. But it's my voice. And then there's also another content that I did called Morning Gratitude. So you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is just thank God for what's about to come, what's about to take place.
Yes, we're talking about gratitude. In your 3 decades in the industry, what are you most grateful for?
It's one word, but in that word is everything that has made me who I am, that is continuing to make me who I still need to be, but it's in that one word that I should no longer have: life. It's just, I'm thankful for the life I have today. Toni, when I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old, binanggit ng doktor sa nanay ko, Mrs. Valenciano, a type 1 diabetic is given an average lifespan of 30 years from the day of diagnosis. I was 14. So if you do the math, dapat when I got to 44, wala na. Or maybe I got to 48, pero may mga problema na sa mata, sa nerve endings and all. I'm 57. And I'm not ashamed to tell people how old I am because I'm not living on borrowed time. I'm living on His time.
Ang ganda nung sinabi mo rin, Kuya Gary, na we are living on His time. So when the time comes that you graduate here on earth and you meet your Creator face to face, what do you want to tell Him?
Okay, I think I'm going to be speechless because it is also written that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those that love Him. But maybe the first thing I'll tell Him is, I'm sorry. That's the first thing I'll probably say to Him. Sorry because of the many times that I could have when I should have. I could have done this, but I didn't do it. I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, but I did. And so that's probably the first thing I'm going to say. I don't need to hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant, because I don't think I'm there yet.
What do you want people to feel when they listen to your songs?
It's like an open door in a dark room. That's how I want people to feel. It's parang they're in their world. They may not even believe that there is a God that exists and loves them. But when they hear my music, I want that door to open up and they see the light even just a bit and they're drawn to it. The light not being me, the light being Him.
How do you want people to remember you?
There was one king in the Word, in the Bible, who probably was the most sinful because he was a murderer. And yet, among all kings, this is the king that God said was a man after my own heart. I'd like to be remembered as Gary. He was far from perfect, but he pursued the excellence of God. Pag wala na ako, I like the music to continue to reflect not just who I am, but to reflect the desire of people to know who this God is, who I have spoken of, for so long. And I think that, well, that's not an impossibility, but that's how I'd like to be remembered.
Ay, walang pa si Toni sa dulo. Kasi di ba normally may siya?
That really brings me to tears.
May pa-summary. Meron siyang thoughts, conclusions, ganyan. Ay, inspiring. Every time naman. Kasi kahit naman concert ni Sir Gary, pag nanonood tayo, syempre alam na yun, matik na kasama sa repertoire niya yung performance about God. And inspiring yun, tsaka at the same time, uplifting ng spirit natin. Especially when you're feeling down and when you're having problems. Diba? Pero hindi siya nag-give up tinan nyo. Yung maintenance niya sa sakit niya. Tapos nagkaroon siya ng mga operations. Pero nandun pa rin yung faith niya. A true living testament how really God works in mysterious ways. Diba? Sa paraang hindi rin natin masabi, sa paraang feeling naman natin pag-give up na tayo pero nandiyan pa din siya. Hindi man natin maramdaman physically pero he does things na ano mo yun, out of your control na, pero nagkakaroon ng way nagkakaroon ng mga solution yung mga problems mo na mapapaisip ka na kung paano nangyari, and maybe that really are His ways to help us. Minsan nga sinasabi ko pag may mga problems tayo, I think heaven really feel us or hear us na gumagawa siya ng way to comfort us. Pwedeng through things, pwedeng through people, through words from other people, through works of other people, to pamper us, to comfort us, and to feel that He's always there for us. Thank you so much mga Kuys. Medyo mahaba na tong reaction video natin. And thank you so much to Toni Gonzaga and Sir Gary Valenciano for sharing this video. Very inspiring talaga siya. Tsaka sa story ni Sir Gary, di ba? Marami tayong narinig na bago at natutunan din. So, kayo naman mga Asin Kuys, ano masasabi nyo sa naging Toni Talks to Sir Gary V? Comment nyo lang dito yan and let's read. Maraming salamat sa panood ng video na to. Lagi kayo mag-ingat. Bye-bye!